We have a motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second before us. Any other further discussion? Hearing none, mayor's first to vote. Mayor votes aye. Ms. Juniman? Mr. Jelly?
No.
Mr. Rossbach?
Aye.
Mr. Nephew?
Aye.
Okay. Let's see. We did have, I know that Ms. Binko had sent us an email asking to be recognized, and with this new development now...
Yes, I still would like to speak.
Okay, so just briefly, if you could. I'm sorry.
Briefly, if I could. No, I have a prepared statement. I spent several hours doing it, and in lieu of the fact that Mr. Nephew has graciously removed his table into another arena and discussion in January, my comment may even be more appropriate. So I'm going to read the statement that I prepared. I took 5 hours of my personal time, and I'm going to read exactly what I wanted to read. My name is Dr. Julie Binko. I live at 1949 Greenbrier. I'm here today as a citizen's taxpayer. Also, too, I'm somewhat of a policy analysis expert. My doctorate is in policy and administration, so I feel I have a right as a professional to give my opinion on policy creation in the city of Maplewood as I've seen it in the last 5 years of my residence in this city. I'm going to briefly talk about 4 items, policy and policy analysis. Ms. Juneman, I'd like you not to give your sidebar comments. If you have something you'd like to ask me, I'd appreciate it, but I guess in the name of civility.
Julie?
Excuse me, I'm talking.
Yes, well, read your statement, please.
I asked in my request to be recognized not to be interrupted by sidebar comments.
Well, then, don't interrupt yourself.
She interrupted me. I'm sorry.
No, I actually asked her
Well,
a
then-
question. All right, so.
Please continue. And thank you for sending an email to the council that you asked to be recognized.
I'm going to talk a little bit about policy, pressure groups, council roles, and state statutes, because, well, I'll just start my thing. As far as I know, policy is a plan of action to guide decisions in action. The term may apply to government, private sectors, organizations, groups, and individuals. The policy procedure includes and identifies different alternatives, such as programs or spending priorities, and chooses among those on the basis of impact they will have. Policies, in short, can be understood as political, management, financial, and administrative mechanisms arranged to reach an explicit goal. And since I was prepared to speak on this issue of the council corner, I would have to ask, first of all, as Ms. Longrie asked, what was the goal of this introducing this policy? I don't know. But in any case, the key words in a policy process is to identify differing alternatives. And differing alternatives, as Mr. Nephew and Mr. Rossbach have pointed out to me on many occasions, are things that need to be looked seriously at in this town. Policy, as they have pointed out to me, will saddle future councils. And with that, policy does not always have to go to law, code, ordinance, or resolution to find a solution. Quite often, policy can be education, rules, guidelines, process, procedure. I know for a fact that I have been asked by city staff to write for the Maplewood Monthly, and I have never ever been given a set of guidelines for what is appropriate, what isn't appropriate in a column. And if we are going to be talking about policies and procedures, where's that piece? Before someone can go along and say, I don't like it, I don't agree with it, so-and-so's a liar, someone didn't tell the truth. There's nothing in place in the Maplewood Monthly at this time currently that gives anybody any idea of what is or is not an includable item in this newspaper or this newsletter. Public policy is a course of action or inaction chosen by public authorities to address a problem. You notice I said the word inaction. It's not always an actionable item. Public policy is expressed in the body of laws, regulations, and decisions and actions of government. Policy analysis can be used to formulate public policy and to evaluate effectiveness. Public policy manifests the common sense and common conscience of the citizens as a whole and extends throughout everybody and everybody's issues in public welfare. Policy analysis is the systemic evaluation of alternative means of achieving social goals. One common methodology is to define problems evaluate criteria, identify alternatives, evaluate them, and recommend the best policy options. Policy analysis is methodologically diverse, using both qualitative and quantitative methods. It's not a dartboard where someone comes up and throws the dart at it and decides, I don't want to hear this or I don't like that. It's very systemic. And as far as I know, the policy that was under review last week has not undergone any such scrutiny or any kind of analysis like this. In my professional opinion, the lack of this scrutiny is the biggest factor contributing to the instability of the city of Maplewood government. Do you have a question, Mr. Mayfield? Do you have a question?
You're not in school.
I'm asking him.
Yes, my question is your nonprofit firm offering to do this analysis for us?
Absolutely not. I'll let you know when I charge. I'm here, I already introduced it in the beginning of my thing. I said I was here as a citizen's taxpayer. And I feel that I have some ability to talk on this subject. I'm here as a citizen taxpayer.
Are you here as a candidate for city
I'm
council?
here as a citizen taxpayer, and if I was here as a candidate, I would said so. I don't know how that even enters into this. Your candidates come up and talk and speak and also sign your petitions. So do you have a point by asking that question?
It was just a question.
Okay, so I'm here as a citizen taxpayer.
Please continue. Please continue.
The biggest factor contributing to the instability of the city of Maplewood government at this point, I think, is this lack of scrutiny. I don't like it and I don't agree isn't a reason to start a policy debate. Instead of scrutiny and focus on the common good, on many occasions, policy in Maplewood has been entertained and generated by pressure groups. Pressure groups are collections of individuals who hold similar sets of values and beliefs for a variety of reasons, and they can use these beliefs to promote change and further their goals. Did you have another question?
Yeah, I did. You're sure you're not here as a candidate? Because it kind of sounds like a campaign speech.
It is not.
Oh, okay. Please continue. I mean, normally we don't invite people to come up and give prepared speeches after an agenda item is done.
I asked,
when discussion-
I wrote to recognition.
Normally, I believe the mayor at the beginning of the meeting pointed out at a meeting continuation, we don't typically add new items to the agenda.
She also said that I could speak.
Well, she has no authority to do
I'm just
that,
saying
actually,
that
but-
I know you're very concerned about procedure, because when you were on the Parks Commission, you were constantly raising questions about procedure
Right.
and abuse of procedure by the chair.
That's
And
correct.
so I find it very interesting that when the procedure, everything that's standard for how our rules of procedure are set by the council
Yes.
is violated to your benefit, you are jumping forward to take advantage of it.
That's your opinion right now. I haven't heard any other opinion from any parliamentarian here.
Okay, now what I would like is I would like you to finish up your statement, just
I
if you
can.
can quickly, and if the council can just refrain from trying to either interject themselves or whatever, because Ms. Binko did indeed send an email to ask to be recognized during this item because she hadn't been at the meeting and she had some concerns about the procedure. Now, of course, we've had a change of how the process
It
went.
doesn't matter because you're going to bring this up again in January.
Right.
Yeah, but this is not-
And we
Why don't
could,
you
And I'll
bring
co-
your concerns back
and
in
Because I'm here right now.
and we, right, so what I would like is that if you could just continue with this.
I'd be happy to.
And is there, like, maybe a page left, or?
Oh, no, I've got several pages, but I keep getting interrupted, so.
Not a chance.
This is,
Okay, so I know that you've spent a lot of time on this.
Yeah.
And if you could summarize, I think I've got some very good points that you've made
Well,
that I have written down.
I will move along as soon as I stop from being interrupted every time I
Then-
start.
name a time we've ever had this happen after an agenda item's been voted on.
She asked me if I wanted to speak and I
Well,
felt
we
it was
actually-
appropriate, and I said, yes, I do.
You know, I guess I do know that we've had individuals come up after an agenda item was finished, and that they have come up and they spoke. Probably not this, at this length, but I do know that we have.
Yeah,
And,
This is unfortunately after, before we made a vote, I'll be very flexible, let people talk. We put up, I think, my God, we've been very flexible on that, all right? But afterwards, no. I'm sorry, no.
She was the one that asked me
So-
whether or not it was appropriate, and I said, yes, I do
Well, that's
believe
fine.
it is.
You know what, I'm
And-
talking to
and I
her, I'm not
guess-
talking to anybody
and
else.
I would say, because you see, the thing is I didn't have an idea how long this might be. I think what you have to say is very valuable. And we have had people speak after an agenda item was done. I know we have, that they've come up and we've recognized them to say something. Maybe it was even Peter Fisher. But with that being said, is that he probably didn't have quite as much time. And what I think that I would like, if you could, because I know that the message that you have will be lost if we continue in this vein. And I don't want your message to get lost. So we have a council meeting next Monday where we have visitor presentations, or if you would like to have a spot on the agenda specifically so that that way you can address it in its entirety, maybe perhaps we could do that. Because otherwise, I am certain that your message, as good as it is, tonight, if we continue forward, that it will be lost, and then all the work that you've put into it will be for naught.
I'd certainly be happy to take an agenda item on your next city council meeting on, I believe that's July 27th. Is that, would be under a new business presentation?
And I'm thinking that that might be a better venue.
Madam Mayor, to put an item on the agenda to rehash one resident's opinion of something that the council already took action on, it's particularly when it's somebody who's running for city council.
And it's okay for Mr. Yanis
now
to come
we
up
are-
and do something?
Please, we are not going to get into a debate back and forth. And I will say that I think according to our council policy and procedure, it clearly says that if a citizen wants to put something on the agenda, that they can do so. It doesn't say whether or not, if it's germane, it doesn't say whether or not that it has a particular content. It doesn't give any particular qualifications. And
Madam Mayor,
maybe
I think
we
that
can
may
look.
create some problems, because then, on what basis, if some of our regular visitor presentations people decide that they need a half hour or more because they don't have enough time in their weekly cable show, let alone in the 5 minutes we give them, to make their points on various issues, then we'll be having to give them unlimited time on the agenda if they simply come forward and ask for it. I mean, this is clearly not going in a good direction. If Dr. Binko has put a great deal of work into a document that she's reading to us, she can send it by email. She has the right to do that.
I don't care to do it. I want to do it publicly.
As any citizen does have the right to do that. She has the right to submit it as an opinion piece to publications if she wishes to do so. There are many ways to do it, but we're here to try to get business done at this and every other meeting, and we don't have enough time, and we just can't be going to 2 in the morning at every one of our meetings from now through the election.
Excuse me, I'm here also as a citizen taxpayer to
Now-
talk about how you do
now,
business.
this
So how
is-
would you like to take care of
This
this?
is what I think we should do, is that Mr. Antonin, if you don't have a copy of our council policy and procedure manual with you right this moment, perhaps you can take a look at that and see what it says with regard specifically for citizens putting something on the agenda. Because if that policy, until it is changed, allows for it to be on the agenda, I think that that would be one way that this could be approached. Another way is the way that Mr. Nephew was suggesting. And so I will leave it to Ms. Binko and the city manager to decide whether or not, if it's something that, based upon that policy and that what's written in the book and what was approved last January, whether or not if it is indeed something that can be done, because that is the current policy. And if there looks like there's some other issue with the policy, then that should be brought before the council to be modified. But until it's modified, the policy is the policy. And so I think that is really, if we're looking at the right posture of this, I think that that's where we have to move to. So if Ms. Binko, if you would be agreeable to working with Mr. Antonin on looking at what that policy says, and then considering either what the options are that Mr. Nephew has indicated, or whether or not if the policy for an agenda item something
I'm not
that's
going to
real.
do it in a written format,
Madam Mayor.
because every time I do address city council in written format, I get messages back from certain city council members saying I'm ranting and raving. There is no format
Okay,
that city
Madam Mayor,
council
so-
has to
right, so then-
listen to their citizens and give appropriate feedback. They can just shoot off whatever they feel is appropriate,
Okay.
or ignore you, one of the
Right,
two.
so are
Madam
you
Mayor?
agreeable then to working with
I
Mr.
did
Anthony?
agree that I would use my statement, and at a further time, I was asked last time when I introduced the sale of real estate not to attend, so that that could be brought up and then
It
gotten
looks-
back to us after
Okay,
council took
just hold
agenda.
on,
So
let's
I'm
take
always
a-
amenable
We're
to.
going to take a quick couple of minute break here while Mr. Enten's looking at the policy and procedure.
Madam Mayor?
Ms. Juniman.
Thank you. Could we ask the parliamentarian, and I believe that's Mr. Attorney Man, what he sees this as? Since you were giving an opinion on how the proper channels, wouldn't the parliamentarian be the person to do it?
And I guess I would have to say that I was trying to find a happy medium
I know,
between.
but if we're talking about policy.
A council and a citizen, that obviously what the citizen has to say was much longer than what I thought was the brief statement that was going to be just given from the email.
Madam Mayor,
So, I don't know, Mr. Cantrude or Mr. Antonin?
Madam Mayor, I would like to make a motion to call for the orders of the day. That would be a procedural motion that asks that we adhere to the agenda that has been approved, and that is our agenda. And so we should proceed to item L6, and these other matters can resolve themselves in the fullness of time between now and a future meeting.
Okay, very good. Mr. Antonin, first, I do want to recognize Mr. Antonin because he took the time to looking at this. Mr. Antonin, what does it say there? Just so that everyone has it out on the table and we know clearly what it says.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. I am not a Philadelphia attorney, so I'm not going to render a legal opinion on this. It's under item B, or I'll read the A and B so there isn't any confusion. All matters to be submitted to the council shall be filed no later than 12 noon on the Monday prior to the Monday council meeting, at which consideration is desired, and shall be delivered to city manager in or his absence, city clerk. In unusual circumstances and when the matter does not require investigation, an item may be accepted after the deadline upon the approval of the city manager. Item B, except for trivial matters, no item or business shall be considered for action by the council which does not appear on the agenda for the meeting, except an item of urgent business which requires immediate action and is so determined by a majority of the council. The council will hear all reasonable citizens' petitions, requests, and statements. However, such items which do not specifically appear on the agenda shall be deferred to a future meeting for more careful consideration and study if council action other than filing is required or requested.
Okay, thank you. So
Thank you.
then I would, do I need to write again for the July 27th meeting? Or I have already asked for a request to be recognized? Is that adequate?
Madam Mayor,
I'm
again,
asking a
I
question
wish
of
to
Mr.
to call
Antman.
your attention to a matter of procedure. A call for the orders of the day requires a two-thirds vote of the body not to follow the agenda. And I think that we are well off the agenda. No second is needed, no vote is needed. If someone wishes to vote against returning to our agenda, then two-thirds of this body has to choose to do so.
Right. So I think we're going to take that vote on continuing with the agenda, but what I would suggest is now, given this information that you have, that you work with Mr. Antonin to do what you need to do to get on the next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So we do have a call to move forward with our agenda. Ms. Juniman, first to vote.
Aye.
Mr. Jelly?
Aye.
Mr. Rossbach?
Aye.
Mr. Nephew?
Aye.
And Mayor votes aye.